Welcome to the Breakthrough to Brilliance podcast, where we have inspiring and insightful conversations about breaking free from life's biggest challenges to find fulfillment and purpose. I am your host, Seema Giri, an international speaker, best-selling and award-winning author, book writing mentor, and publisher. I bring you real-life stories of healing and transformational journeys so that you know that you can create life on your own terms. Our heart-centered guests are the everyday heroes that you find in your backyard, from mothers to sisters to friends to entrepreneurs and authors. Join us to hear their positive and powerful stories so you too can learn to live with purpose and joy. Welcome to Breakthrough to Brilliance podcast. I'm so happy to be here with you for another amazing episode. We are doing our author series for our book that just released, Break Free to Health and Vitality, and it hit #1 international best-selling status. Today, I'm here with an amazing author, Tamara Baldwin. She is a co-author in our book, Break Free to Health and Vitality. And before we get started with this amazing interview, we are going to do a quick grounding meditation so we can be here with each other in the moment for the moment. So let's just get comfortable in our seat and take in a deep breath. You may also close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Make sure you're not driving. With the next deep inhale and exhale through your mouth, I would like you to bring your attention to your heart. You might even put your hand over your heart to create that awareness. And with your next deep breath in and exhale, I want you to think of a happy moment. It can be from any time period of your life, your childhood, young adulthood, or even today. And I want you to feel as if you're really living that moment for the very first time. Think of the ambiance. Who were you with? Who were you at your favorite spot? And relive and re-feel that joy and bliss that brought you in that moment. And I want you to go one step further and really embody that. Really enjoy this bliss. With your next inhale and exhale, I want you to bring your attention to the top of your head, which is our crown chakra, and think of a second happy moment. And yes, you guessed it. I want you to relive that moment as if you're living it for the very first time. Again, remember who you were with. What was that like? Was it the companionship, the laughter, the joy, the ambiance? Was it everything all together that brought you so much bliss? And really just embody that in right now. And with your next inhale, I want you to open up your heart and your mind to receive what you are meant to receive by joining us today. Maybe something that you need to hear for you or for someone that is close to you. And I invite our guests and myself to open ourselves up and really tune into what our listeners need to hear from us today. What do they need to hear from our journey? And with your next inhale and exhale through your mouth, you're going to be totally 100% right here with each other in the here and now, in the moment. And you may open your eyes with a great big smile. Welcome, Tamara. I'm so excited that you are joining us today.
Thank you, Seema. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Well, before we get started with this amazing interview, I want to first ask you, what was called upon your heart during our meditation?
Refreshing and renewing is what came to my mind as we were going through that. It's a reminder of my daily exercise and meditation just to be focused on the day ahead.
Isn't it amazing how a short break like this can really help you focus on what you're to do on that day?
It really is. And I often think about when you wake up in the morning, if you're rushing up, it's like your day is rushed. But when you ease into the day, it makes all the difference.
Exactly. Well, Tamara, let me tell our listeners all about you. Tamara Baldwin is a spiritual counselor. She is Her books anthologies have received number one international best-selling author status. She is an award-winning public speaker who transforms the lives of those she encounters by encouraging, empowering, equipping, and educating them on how to thrive rather than simply survive. As a spiritual counselor and mentor leader, Tamara specializes in restoration counseling to positively transform the lives of individuals who have been physically, emotionally, mentally, and financially preyed upon by the place where they should receive prayer. The house of worship, regardless of denomination, she has also served as an educator for nearly 30 years. When she is not writing or speaking at conference retreats and workshops, Tamara enjoys reading, swimming, and traveling. Tamara resides in South Carolina and serves as an advocate and activist in her local community as well. So, Tamara, congratulations. How does it feel to be a number one international best-selling author?
Oh, Seema, thank you so much for that. It just feels wonderful. It just feels like a dream come true, something I've wanted to do since childhood. So I'm so excited.
That's wonderful. Now, I know, as we were talking earlier, that many people have said to you, have asked you whether you have a book, and when they found out that you didn't, they said, maybe you should write one. So, what finally gave you that push to write a book?
Wow, Seema, what really gave me that push was just watching my life and seeing the state that my life was in. And so I'm doing the things that I desire to do. And the one thing that I had not accomplished was that of writing a book. So that's what inspired me.
Great. And what inspires you to participate in Break Free to Health and Vitality?
My personal health is actually what sparks that interest. I just can remember my life of taking care of everyone else but neglecting myself. And when the opportunity came forward, I knew that I had to be a part of the anthology.
Tamara, what is the name of your chapter?
The name of the chapter is Transforming Trauma into Triumph.
That is such a beautiful title, I think. That is an amazing title. And what do you hope that the readers would gain from reading your chapter?
I really hope that readers will gain a sense of well-being, knowing that no matter what their experiences are in life, that they too can triumph from any type of trauma that they have experienced.
I think just from the title alone, people can get the inspiration and hope that your past doesn't define you and you can create the life that you want. These days, I love saying you can create the life by design, which means you can create how you want it to be, you want it to look like, and you don't have to live a life by default, meaning the life that we felt that has been given to us that we have to just deal with. Sometimes you're in a situation where it might feel like you have to do that, but slowly, by taking one step at a time, you can get out of that situation and create the life that you want. Now, in order to do that, it takes a lot of courage. So I understand, Tamara, that that may have been the same for you as well, to have the courage to take the step to change your life. How was that for you?
And Seema, thank you for that, because that's spot on. And how that's been for me is just the realization that you don't have to look like what you're going through. You don't have to look like what you've been through. And so that's really the inspiration here. Just because you've experienced something, you don't have to be defined by what you've experienced in life. And I often tell people, even in the workplace, your job doesn't define who you are. You define who you are. And the same with the trials that we've experienced and the trauma that we've experienced. You don't have to stay there.
I think what many people do is they start identifying themselves with the problem. They start identifying themselves as the work, because you're actually doing that all the time and you're living in your problem all the time. I remember when I had my autoimmune issues, I would say, my name is Seema and I have autoimmune disease, right? And then
Mhm.
someone told me, Seema, that's not who you are. You are Seema Giri, who is struggling with these issues, but that's not who you are. And that really triggered something in me. It's like, you know what? That is true. Why do we lead with that? Why do we lead with, I'm so and so and I have this thing, or I'm so and so and I'm an accountant? You know, you are you who happens to be doing the job of an accountant, being the job of a doctor, but that's not who you are 24/7.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So, Tamara, what was your defining moment where you finally had the courage to make the change in your life? And what was that first step that you took?
Seema, the first step really looked as if I was asking myself the question, am I being selfish by saying no to those who are always pulling and wanting and needing? And that was a defining moment for me to learn that I'm not being selfish. Self-care is significant. Self-care is important. Self-care is a necessity. And so when I came to that realization, that's when things actually began to change.
And how long ago was that?
That actually has been probably within the last 5 years, but then more recently with actually authoring this book or the chapter for the book. Self-care.
And how was that?
The self-care now, what has happened, it just feels great. It's a necessity. Like I mentioned, I have to focus on myself so that I can be tooled and equipped to help other people.
Okay, I thought since you said that most recently you felt that self-care was even more important while you were authoring the book, so I thought maybe something you had some kind of insight or realization during the writing process that made you to believe that even so.
And I hear you, and you are right about that. Authoring the book is an opportunity for people to look into our lives or into my life, and so I want to be that example. My life is an example, and so more recently, it's with authoring the book and wanting to live the life that I'm talking about. So thank you for that clarity.
And it's amazing. Even when you're writing one chapter, you get amazing clarity of what you're writing because you're writing about your journey, you're writing about your story. But then you also get that some kind of a release, some kind of clarity, some kind of it's a very cathartic experience for almost 99% of my authors, where they gain a new insight, they have an aha moment, they release some of the limiting beliefs. Many times it's through our conversations, through just pointing out some of the blind spots, that you might not even see, but because I'm a neutral party and we're having the conversation, that those kind of things have facilitated um, to go even deeper than what we're thinking. Um, with that, that's generally the kind of process that, even for me as a compiler,
Mhm.
in talking with the authors, a lot of things I get to see from a different perspective.
Yes. Definitely, and that makes a lot of sense. And often when you're authoring a book, you're there and you're in the moment. Sometimes you're reliving your experiences, but when you talk about being cathartic, it was a point of healing, because when you're going through the process in your mind of what you've experienced, and you begin to say, hey, you know what, I'm looking at this from a different perspective. And that's because we are different people from the trauma that we've experienced from yesterday. Today we're a new person, and tomorrow we'll receive that same newness.
Exactly. So, what has changed for you after completing the book, after going through the process? Um, what is that one thing that stands out to you that has changed for you from before writing the book and now?
Seema, before writing the book and now, the one specific thing that has really changed and made all the difference is boundaries. Setting those boundaries, and knowing when to say no, letting my no be no, and letting my yes be yes. So self-care wrapped in those boundaries has made all the difference.
And I think that's such a key thing to know for all women. I mean, I'm sure men experience this too, but because I'm a woman, we're women, we can only
Mhm.
speak for ourselves. That it's so important. And many times we feel guilty putting boundaries. As a mother, as a caregiver, I know you've done that too, I've done that too, that we feel like, if we set boundaries and we take time out for ourselves, then we're not being good caregivers and good parents. But that is the very key to be the best parent and the best caregiver, because if you continuously fill your cup, you're able to give from a happier place. You're less cranky, you're less irritable, you're enjoying that versus when you're tired and you're exhausted and you have just so many things to do and you have to get that done. How have you experienced something similar, Tamara?
Absolutely, Seema. And thinking about that, there are people often talk about there not being enough hours in the day. And I think just grounding yourself and having that focal point of awareness, that makes a difference in how we're able to get through our day. So truly it's just a matter of looking at ourselves, self-care, boundaries, and now we can move forward and be there and be present with those with whom we encounter.
But that's amazing because now through your story, more women can feel empowered and encouraged to take more time out for self-care.
Absolutely. Yes.
So many of our listeners who have not participated in anthologies or written in anthologies wonder how is that experience, being in a book with multiple authors and the whole writing process, the whole journey from beginning to end. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. From the beginning to the end, initially making the decision that, yes, I'm going to participate in an anthology. Wow, this is really happening. And there are so many emotions, Seema, that go into that. And then realizing, okay, well, let me start the writing process. The most challenging and the most rewarding part for me with the project was really starting, remembering, then resolving. So those are the 3 points for me, and it's been a good thing.
What was your expectation when you said yes to participate in the anthology?
Seema, my expectation when I said yes was really the opportunity to encourage other people, to empower other people, to equip other people. And so meeting your acquaintance was a part of um, a dream that I've had, that I knew that I would be in contact with someone who would help the process of removing it from inside, internally, and then moving externally. And so that's where I am with that.
And was your expectations met or exceeded, or how would you say that?
When I think about expectations, I really just expected that I would grow and learn how to go through the process, authoring a book in preparation, maybe for my own, or also being a collaborator at some point in the future. But I just have really been amazed that the project has exceeded the professionalism, the the context that we've had with other authors, being able to meet people from other places in the country. That's so exciting. So that definitely exceeds my expectations, or any expectations that I could have set, which I really had no other expectations than knowing that this would happen.
Wonderful. Tamara, do you have any tip that you can give to our listeners that they can incorporate one thing immediately in their life that could help them break free to their health and vitality?
One thing that I would share with individuals seeking that is that you want to make sure that you are present for yourself before you can be present for other people. So take time out for self-care, even if it's reading a book, taking a bath, or just being in your own space without the pull of other individuals. And so that would be my takeaway. Again, I can just keep talking about self-care. Self-care is so important, and working in the field of counseling, it's important that we maintain our mental health.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think we can say, we could talk for hours and days and months and years, and I don't think that would be enough talking about
Right.
self-care.
That's
I
right.
think that is the key to prevention of a lot of illnesses and a lot of heartache. And if we need to normalize that when people take time for that, it's like, yes, great, keep doing more.
Normalizing, and I'm glad you said that, normalizing, because I believe that there's still this, it's not as much as it was at one time, Seema, but really when people talk about mental health, or that person has a mental problem or things like that, when we get to the point where we look at visiting a counselor or a therapist like we would go to the doctor, like we would go to the dentist, like we would go to the optometrist, all of those things are a part of our health, and that's a holistic approach to who we are. And so that is a significant point, and one that I really hope that our readers will take to heart.
Yes, yes. And that is the intention of me compiling these books. The whole Break Free series, our leadership one, because it's all about self-leadership, and of course our upcoming book, Brighter Side of the Pandemic, which is going to focus a lot on, mental health and mental wellness, and
Yes.
how do we redirect our focus from the global pandemic that we've been having with heartbreak throughout the world. How do we manage that, and how do we handle those things? And many people have done an amazing job with that. So
Yes.
that's the next book that we are enrolling for. So if you're listening and something that is of interest to you, please do connect with us so we can take the discussion further. Tamara, I'm so happy that you were on our show today. I loved our discussion, learned a
Yes.
few things myself, and I'm sure our listeners had great insights as well.
Yes, Seema, thank you so much for having me. And just thank you for allowing yourself to be used to help others. So our goal is to make a permanent positive impact on our world. And we're doing that one person at a time, breaking free to their health and their vitality. And so I'm so grateful to you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, this is my favorite thing to do. Our book is available on Amazon, and you can also get it from Tamara's site. And please do connect with us. It was wonderful having you on our show today. Make sure you let us know what your thoughts are and your views in the comment section, wherever you're listening on your favorite channel. And until next time, this is Seema. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Break Free to Brilliance podcast. I hope you enjoyed our time together. I know I did. Through this transformational journey, I hope you can see yourself taking similar steps, breaking free to your brilliance, and creating the life that you desire. Be sure to subscribe to Break Free to Brilliance wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow along with us on social media using the links in the show notes below. We'll see you again for next week's episode.